Welcome to the Alpha Pickleball Podcast, where we slice through the noise to bring you the juiciest insights, strategies, and stories from the dynamic world of pickleball. Join us as we serve up engaging conversations with top players, coaches, and enthusiasts, giving you an ace perspective on all things pickleball. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just stepping onto the court, get ready for a volley of knowledge that'll elevate your game to alpha levels. Let the rallies begin.
All right, welcome again to the show. I'm your host, Tats. Today's guest is Casey Diamond, PPA pro pickleball player. You have a very interesting story. Thank you for coming on the show.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Looking back, you're a top tennis prospect. You know, it's a background many people have. Explain your story there.
So I was a good tennis player. I was not a great tennis player. There are some people on the tour that are unbelievable tennis players. Played high level pro for a couple years after college. I was not like that at all. I probably played 5 or 6 years of really competitive training tennis wise, but I actually played 6 high school sports. So I was actually a baseball player and a swimmer in high school, and that kind of transitioned me to I played soccer, and then I also grew up kind of in a country club area, so I played golf as well, and I also ran cross country. So I played a lot of different sports, and I kind of think that's where some of the on-court stuff that a lot of tennis players they play more like tennis, and I do like to play tennis, obviously on the pickleball court sometimes, but I can also have that gear where I play a little bit slower, and I feel like that's sometimes hard to come by in the first couple of rounds. Towards the end, everyone can play slow, so it's a little bit different. But no, I played a year and a half of college tennis at a school called Center College in Danville, Kentucky. Real small D3 school. It was a good time. Very very small school. Only had 1,100 kids, and then I ended up transferring to the University of Kentucky, where I was there for 3.5 years. Did not play tennis there at all, but I actually was on the club swim team there, so I had a little fun there. And then I graduated from the University of Kentucky 2 years ago, and I spent about 6 to 8 months in medical sales in Lexington, Kentucky. I liked that job a lot. I had no medical background, so that was a little bit interesting, but I had a lot to learn there. And then I ended up actually going back to my summer job in college, which was I was actually a beach lifeguard in college all 4 summers. Pretty interesting job. And that's kind of where at the end of my last year of college in Hilton Head, I actually walked upon clay pickleball courts. Was my first time playing pickleball. It's wild, actually. It's some of the only courts that I've been all over the country trying to find clay pickleball courts, and there are literally not many at all, but they are in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and Sea Pines. There are clay courts. So I
Wow.
played that it's crazy, isn't that weird?
Yeah. I mean, walk me through the differences. I mean, I played clay tennis.
Yeah,
Um, what's clay pickleball like?
it's honestly, I mean, going to it now where I played so much like hardcore pickleball, I don't think it would be fun at all. But just like us being just college guys, just trying to have fun and stuff, playing on clay was fun, and we could slide around and stuff. It was fun. But no, I wouldn't recommend competitive or high level pickleball being on clay, especially with I mean, you have all these injuries on hard courts. It probably definitely would not be great for clay courts either. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, your background, you have a lot of different sports. Now, obviously, certain things you picked up in tennis. And I look at your pickleball game, I haven't watched a lot of footage, but you have some shots that are uniquely yours. I mean, how much of this came from other sports you played?
I would say I have a very unique style with pickleball. So I actually grew up as like a very small kid. So my dad is only like 5'9", 5'10", and I'm the tallest person in my family by almost 6 inches now. So I kind of grew up playing basketball, and I was a small baseball player. I was a small swimmer. I kind of had to adapt and figure out things to kind of gain advantage because I was so small. And then towards the end of college or end of high school into college, I grew almost a foot. When I was 16 years old, I was 5'5". So I grew 11 inches. And then that's where I was almost playing a taller game as being a smaller person. So that's where some of my shots where I'm able to kind of take a bunch of steps on the court and run around, but also I can get to the kitchen line and reach. It's just something. It's still something that I'm figuring out match by match and training wise using my length, because sometimes I do forget that I do have the 6'4" frame, and I kind of want to play like I'm 5'5". But again, the highest level of this game, you got to be able to use your length if you have it for sure. So.
Yeah. So what were some of the adaptations you talked about moving your feet in these other sports? Like where do you have to employ sort of smarts or the adaptation to sort of succeed in some of the early sports things you did?
I would say a lot. I did play a lot of ping pong when I was young, not competitively or anything like that, but I did love kind of the fast reaction time, and I could see some of my game at the net, being able to kind of keep my elbow into my body and having fast hands on both sides, where a lot of people, the highest level of amateurs, sometimes that elbow goes away and the slower hands kind of happen. I would say that definitely helps me. I would say the one of the biggest things from baseball, I played center field, and just having a working on with my dad in the backyard, having a fast first step, whether it's somebody drop shotting me after an overhead or somebody hitting a slice overhead out wide, just being able to take that first step quickly and then hitting the ball and being able to come back to one spot. It's definitely something that I'm happy that's kind of in my arsenal, and it's something that it's hard to be. It's not hard to learn, but definitely something that just comes second nature to me, which I'm very happy with. Um, but honestly, I think a lot of it, I would say in the past 6 months, I spent a lot of time like on the ground of the pickleball court. I was diving around and that kind of stuff. And that kind of came from my center field mentality, where I was always like, if there was a ball I thought I could get, I was always diving. I was always trying to go get it. But with pickleball, just trying to get that ball and get the next ball back, and kind of, I mean, it was great to dive and it looked great. And I played Ben and Colin in LA, and I had one diving play and it was looked cool or whatever. But being able to hit that ball, get it over the net, and come back and kind of reset is definitely a skill that I'm still working on too as well.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
not everyone's playing pro like you are now. Um, how'd you learn? Like, did people teach you how that sort of progress?
So after I moved back from Lexington, Kentucky to Charleston, South Carolina is actually where I lived for the last year and a half before I just moved to Arizona in June. I found a club that just needed people to teach tennis, and I was like, oh yeah, of course I can feed balls and hit with juniors and stuff, and it was a great time. I love teaching junior tennis. And one day I just went to some local courts to hit with tennis balls, and I was like, oh, there's a sport over there. It looks pretty cool. I feel like I could do that. And I actually met two guys that same day. Their names are Greg Dow and Anderson Scarpa, who both play pro as well. And it kind of just was inseparable. I met them that day and kind of saw them from afar the next week or two. And then one guy was like, hey, you should go talk to him. Like, you could be good at this sport, I think. And I just talked to him, and we pretty much spent the next year and a half playing every single day together. Um, Anderson actually had a court in his backyard at his dad's house that was maybe 1,000 yards from where I was living. I didn't even know it. And so we just spent pretty much every day drilling and playing and getting better. And then eventually it kind of led me out to Phoenix, Arizona. So
Yeah. And what
yeah,
was the what sort of triggered the Arizona? Just to be around more
there's
players?
a couple things. I would say, so I actually met a girl in at PPA LA. Her name is Angie Walker. Met her. I would say she's about half. I tell her it's about 51% of the decision was to come out here because of her. But the 49 was just to be around higher level people, and a lot of them. I loved playing with Greg and Anderson a ton, and we talked about it a ton. It was great to play together every day. But our game started to kind of get one dimensional, being around each other every day in training, where we are seeing the same things. And in Arizona, there's 15, 20 people just like Greg and Anderson. There's you can play mixed in the morning. Like this morning we played mixed in the afternoon. Today we're going to play men's games with completely different people. So you're going to see all these different looks where you don't have to go to a tournament and play somebody in the first round. And again, the second match is going to be completely different, where I'm only kind of gauged. I'm very in Charleston, I was very like narrow sighted on the court, and then in Phoenix, I'm able to kind of adapt to anything because I see so many different looks. So that's kind of why it was the right decision. I also live with a guy named Kyle Kazuda. It's that pickleball guy on Instagram. We have a court in our backyard, and it's his house here, and it's unbelievable. And we play every day. It's really hot right now. It's actually broke the record for the the it's like 100 days over 100 degrees or something crazy like that. So the middle of the day is hard to play. We try to find like some indoor courts and stuff. But the mornings are great, and soon it's going to cool down. We can play all day. So
Yeah, no, very cool.
yeah.
You talked about drilling. So walk me through some of the things that you do now in terms of working on your game.
Yeah, so in Charleston, it's funny, my drilling style was more of, hey, we're going to go for 2 hours and we're going to kind of hit every single piece of the game. And that's kind of what we did every day. And it was great. I got better for sure. In Arizona, me and Kyle kind of do a different style where we go play, like this morning we played some mixed games and we'll video it. And then today at dinner tonight, we'll watch it back and we'll kind of pick three or four things that we saw. And tomorrow morning, me and Kyle will say, hey, okay, you pick three things, I'll pick three things. Let me do 20 minutes of my thing and then 20 minutes of your thing, just to kind of give yourself reps on that are just over and over and over. Or sometimes when you go out there and kind of drill everything, it's just kind of hard to find that one shot. Where in Arizona, we kind of do the same thing over and over and over. So when you get into a match, you might only get one or two of those shots, but you'll be ready for that shot because you just worked on it for 20, 30 minutes. So
Yeah. And I was just watching one of your games. Did you have a two-hander when you were playing tennis, or is that more recent?
no, I did have a two-hander playing tennis. I would say I probably favored my forehand more playing tennis, but also my baseball background, just having two hands on the bat, that kind of was natural just to the whip of it. So I would say more of honestly, I probably favor my backhand more in pickleball. It's a little more controlled too. And that's some people when you go into matches, they're always thinking, oh, the person you're playing always has the worst backhand and forehand. I would say that's probably not the case with me.
Yeah. And how do you decide when to use what? Because I see you use both.
Hmm.
You had a two-hander in tennis. Like, do you just naturally start using things, or do you have a thought process
Yeah.
on when you use certain things and when you don't?
So it's something I'm adapting to playing. So this last tournament I played with a lefty, and it was a little bit different, like my mind geared towards who we were playing and stuff. When I have a right, so I usually play the left side. I'm more of a left side player than the right. I can play the right though. But I drill probably 95% on the left side. When I'm playing with a right side player that's a righty, most of the time I look to use my forehand on thirds and fifths and kind of try to find the middle. And when I'm playing with a lefty, most of my thirds and fifths, I try to hit backhands because I'm trying to hit a backhand across my body to their left side player. And basically, I'm trying to bait that left side player on the other side to hit the ball to the line, which is my left side player's backhand. Or then if they want to go middle, they're gonna have to see my forehand in the middle. So it just kind of depended on the team that we played. Me and Max again had never played a tournament or even a game before this tournament, so it was a little bit of a work in progress. But we both kind of had the same game plan. I think it's hard to find a partner that really is geared the same mentally as yourself, and it really worked. And it was kind of the same thing on his side. He was hitting two-hand thirds cross and trying to bait people to hit the ball middle. And as you saw, it worked. It worked pretty well.
Awesome. And tell me about that tournament. Tell me what happened because I saw your video in the quarters, but
Hmm.
you had a very good run of matches. Walk me through
Yeah.
some of the key ones and what was the key and what you learned from it.
So it all started in actually PPA Vegas and in the convention center area. I watched Max Freeman and James Ignatowicz play against Colin Schick and Jack Sock, and I had never seen Max play before. And I was actually in the stands watching with Ryan Fu, who lives with James and Max in Boca. And I was like, wow, I'm watching this guy play. And I swear, like the way he's playing is the same way that I play on the left side. And he's a lefty playing on the right. I was like, I would love to just play a practice game or just play something and see if that would work. And after the match, I went up to him and talked, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, if you want to play a tournament," and it just so happened Virginia Beach was open for both of us. Um, and we actually both played mixed doubles on our first day there, so we didn't have a lot of time to practice because it was progressive. So we played mixed doubles probably like noon or one, and then we ended up playing men's doubles at like 4 or 5. So we didn't have a lot of time in the middle to play. Um, but it was something that I saw watching one of his matches, and I did kind of gear my game towards the beginning a little bit off James's two-hand dink. And it's funny, that's what Max did. He did the same thing on the other side. So it was weird me watching it because I just felt like, okay, this could really work. And then we go into a match, and because we were both very patient and we were willing to hit a million balls if it took a million balls to get in. And it worked the first match. We won the first one. I want to say maybe 6-2. We had one little rut in the first game, but it worked out well. And the second match we played against Jaume and Tyson, we had it was probably, I think it was 5-5 in the first game. And we just had a couple points go our way, won the first 11-5. And then the second game, we just kind of were extremely solid. We pretty much countered everything they were doing. And we won the second game 11-2. And then we played Pat Smith and Philip Locklear in the round of 16. We played, this match was interesting because it was kind of our first time going into like a rut where we both were playing bad. And because we'd only played 3 matches together, we had never kind of fought through that together. Where one player was kind of not playing well, and then it kind of switched where I wasn't playing well, and then we just couldn't find like where Jaume and Tyson, we both were playing solid the whole time. So it was easy, obviously. Um, in that match, we played really well in the first game. The beginning of the second game, I think we were both just a little tight. We were like, oh, we're literally one game away from our first quarterfinals together and ever. So we were both kind of hitting our balls, not really hitting them. We were just kind of waving our paddles. We lost that game like 3-11, and then we actually went down in the third game like 0-5.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh no. I was like, this can't be happening. Um, and we got two, it was 2-5. We switched at 2-6, and then we actually scored like we scored 9 points and they scored like three. And after the switch. So it was just we kind of turned it on, found kind of our rhythm. Um, and it all went back to just, hey, like we got to trust each other. We both can make a million balls. We both can we have good reach and we can attack the person in front of us. Like, don't feel like you need to do too much. And I feel like a lot of times when you play with new people or you're just figuring something out, it's a lot of uh, oh, this is a pressure spot. Let me hit a ball off the bounce and try to do something that you usually don't do. And kind of just going back to our strategy of the whole time, our phrase was one brain, where like for example Ben and Colin, they might not have one brain, but they're brothers, so of course their brains are geared more together than any two other people. That's why Dylan and J-Dub are so good. It's because they might not be brothers, but they play together more than anyone, so their brains are very similar. They know they can react before, for example, when Dylan goes to hit a ball off the bounce, J-Dub's forehand's already in the middle. So just with me and Max trying to kind of find that again, the flow of the game and stuff, and we found in the third game, and it worked out well. We won that one 11-8, and then we played Rafa and Riley in the quarterfinals. We were up 8-4-1 in the first game, playing really well. We had a couple weird points. There was a net cord to get to 8-6. We had a really, really good hands battle that made it like 8-9. We actually went down. They had 2 3 game points at 10-9. We saved them, and then we got the ball back and we went up 11-10. We had 1 game point, 11-10-2. And we did not convert the third, which is it's all good. And then gave the ball back, and they got two. And then the second game just went by. We were down. It was like one of those where we could taste the victory in the first game, and then it was just ripped from us. And I mean, the second game we just couldn't do anything right. They couldn't do anything wrong. We were down 1-9. We were down 1-10. And then Rafa missed an overhead that he should have made. And then we got like 4 points in a row. We got the ball back. And I'm like, okay, it's 5-10-1. Here we go. Look, we're back in it. And we gave the ball back to them and they got one. But it was a really good run, really good first time partnership. And me and Max will definitely play a lot more together coming forward, knowing that we have a lot of potential together. So definitely it was a great run. Virginia Beach is definitely a place I won't forget, for sure. So
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like partnerships could be I guess, different people, different skill set. But I've
Hmm.
heard many times, like I had Andre on the show, and he was talking about the mentality, right? Like
Yep.
you have the same mentality. That could be very helpful because, like you said, you can
Hmm.
kind of say, well, what would I do in this situation
For
if it
sure.
was your one brain? What are your
Hmm.
thoughts on that? Like similar personality, similar concepts, or difference, or it depends.
Oh no, for sure. Finding somebody, um, that's where at the very beginning when I was playing, I was like always thinking, oh, I need to find the best player to play with. I need to find the person that has the highest super, the best wins, and that's all great. Like obviously having wins and stuff is great. Um, but but now after I just played this match, or even playing with my roommate Kyle, who I'm going to play with a couple tournaments in the future, like having somebody that is steady and is calm and believes they could win, it outweighs having the crazy shots and the I mean, because if you play at a pace that your partner and you both agree on, the other team really can't do anything. It's when one person is kind of being sporadic that's where it kind of spirals out of control. So I definitely agree with that. The mind is in this game, especially at the pro level. Everyone can hit every shot. Everyone can drive the ball. Everyone can hit forehands, backhands, and hard serves. But the mentality is just it's something that the top players have. That, for example, in mixed me and Angie actually played Augie and Lacey Schneeman first round of mixed, and we lost the first game. We were up like 10-4 in the second game, and me and Angie are like almost tight, up 10-4. And I look over at Augie, and Augie's also one of our buddies from Arizona. And I mean, the guy is like the Iceman. He's not nervous. He's hitting drops in the wind off his back foot and poaching ball. I'm like, what's going on right now? Like, why am I tight? It's just he's so mentally strong, and him and Lacey obviously are a very good team together. But it's just that the brain is something that I think a lot of people, especially at the high level, they just train so well. And I think if definitely a lower level pro or even a lower level amateur that's trying to get up in level, just working on the brain and getting in certain situations that are pressurized or from like a money ball at home or anything like that, it's huge for your game going forward for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Besides entering in events, pressurized situations, are there any other ways you can aid that sort of capability with mental
Mhm.
drills, or can you simulate some of that in rec or in practice? Like any other ideas on how to work on the mental side?
Yeah, I mean, me and Kyle are both not here like together a ton, so we do a lot of stuff that's by ourselves. Whether it's I go outside at night sometime, then I juggle for hand eye, just and I walk, just thinking about doing two things at once, or I hit against a wall or something like that. That's obviously more playing style. Um, but the one thing that I actually have started to do that I think has helped me a ton is being in those spots. Is I started getting in like an ice bath, and it sounds kind of dumb, and it's like, oh, it's just a cold bath, like there's nothing to it, like you're just getting in there to like relieve your muscles after. But it's like the second that you get in there, your body's in shock and your body's panicking and your heart rate is rising, 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 rising. It's the same thing that happens in a match. When you're getting nervous, your heart rate is going up and up and up. And in the ice bath, if you panic, you're going to get out and you're going to be done. But just kind of trying to fight off that urge to get out, it's really helped me inside matches now where I'm like very calm and I'm not blinking. And when, for example, at 11-10 or whatever, I'm not like, okay, don't hand me the ball, don't hand me the ball. Like I want the ball. Like it just has changed my mindset completely. And I think it's definitely something that people could look into for them helping them on the court for sure as well.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
When you go to an event or what, any rituals, superstitions,
Oh God.
routines that help you prepare?
I'm a very superstitious person. People make fun of me for it all the time. We played in black our first match in Virginia Beach, and like I don't care if the clothes are dirty. I'm wearing them again. Like I with baseball it was the same way in like junior baseball and in high school. Like if I don't care if we played on a rainy day and I slid headfirst into home and my jersey's dirty. Like I will wear the dirty jersey again. Like I don't care. It's yeah. So these people aren't really much like that. But we actually wore black against Xiaomi and Tyson. And then the next day we wore a different color because Max was like, "Oh, it's fine. Like, I don't want to wear dirty clothes again." And I was like, like if we lose, I'm gonna think about that for sure. And we won barely. And he looked at me after we shook hands and we walked back and he looks at me and says, "Hey, I promise we're gonna wear black all the like for now on." I was like, "Yeah, for sure." But no, I'm very like I use I don't like to change grips a lot. Some people have really sweaty hands and they change grips. Like if I win a good match, I don't care how sweaty it is, I'm not changing it. Um, um, Trying to think what else did I do? Yeah, and honestly, I'm more like clothes wise. Like I don't want to change. But if something's going well and I win a good match like I did in Virginia Beach, like I did the same thing every night. And you might think, oh, you no way. So literally after the first match, I never drink alcohol ever, never. I try not to, and I had one single glass of red wine after that match, and then we beat Tyson and Jami the next day, and you better believe that I had a glass of red wine every single night the rest of the time.
Do you go to the same
Um,
restaurants?
it's funny, we ordered Domino's the first night before the John Mike Tyson match. So every single night, the next 4 nights, I had two two medium Domino's pizzas with Parmesan bread bites. And then every single morning after the first, I got in the ocean. And every single morning after that, I got in the ocean. So yeah, I would say I'm very superstitious for sure.
Very cool. I mean, I heard that, baseball has a lot of those type of
Hmm.
superstitions. Did you get that from there a bit, or
Oh
did
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my grandpa was a very high level baseball player, and my dad played in college as well. And it definitely came from there. Whether it was like he was a pitcher, so getting on the mound and doing certain things. Like I'm growing up, it kind of just rubbed off on me. And my mom is the same way. She's very superstitious. So it's funny that it translated into pickleball. I never thought it would. But no, if you get a good win, I mean, why would you not duplicate it? Like, what are you trying to change? You don't want to change anything. So.
Yeah. Anything to sort of preserve the mindset, right?
For sure. Exactly. That's another thing too, especially in this game. Yeah. No, anything that can help me mentally on the court, I will do again.
Yeah, I mean, let's say like things are not going well. What things have worked for you to be able to change your mindset? Like if you're, because it's a game of runs. So,
For sure.
what sort of things have you had? Are there certain things you said a phrase earlier, but what other things have helped you?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've really had do more often that I think helps the top players like Annalie and Ben, whenever they go into a rut, they never let the other team score more than 2 points ever in a row. No matter if they're up 10-0 and it gets 10-2, they're calling timeout. And I think the number one thing is just if you feel like you need to take a break or you're bad mentally, just call a timeout, get off the court. If you, for example, something that I do, and I think this comes from my tennis background, even pitching in baseball, if a guy just hit a home run foul, you better believe I'm not getting on the mound about it quickly. I'm going to throw him another pitch. I'm going to go over to the dirt, rub it in my hands. I might fix my hat. Like it's all a lot of the game too that people don't understand is all tempo. And if somebody just hit a great winner, you going over and taking 2 extra seconds and grabbing your towel and rubbing it on your face, that might throw their tempo off if you don't have any more timeouts or whatever. Um, but a lot of what I've seen is tempo and stuff. And another thing that's huge that a lot of people, when they're playing a match, they don't want to talk to people that are around the court or maybe their friends that are watching. And I understand that some friends that are watching, they might not know a lot about pickleball or anything, but having somebody on like around the court that really is truly dialed in your match, watching, not on their phone or something. That's something that happened in the third game in against Philip and Pat Smith, where we really were down 2-6 at the switch. Nothing was going right. It was the tempo was off, our energy was bad, and um, Greg Duck came over. He was sitting there on our bench, and he just kind of gave us a few tips, like, "Hey, get back to where you were. Like, you guys are a better team. Just get back to how you both were in the same mindset and in the first game." And it just one single click, and it was like we shot out of a cannon after that and scored 9 points in a row. It's crazy.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
What are your future plans? What do you have going for you?
Yeah, so this coming week I'm going to APP Dallas. And then the following week I have a week break, and then I actually am headed to India on October 21st to the 28th. I'm playing the brand new, it's the PWR series of events over in India. So that should be really fun. Looking forward to that. I actually got asked by Amelia Schmidt, who's the girl from Australia, really good player. So looking forward to that. And then November will be a little interesting towards the beginning. I'm going to play Worlds with Max, and then in Dallas, and then I'm going to play. I'm supposed to play Boca, the same APP Boca, the same week because we don't have to play till Saturday with Max. And then the next week, I'm coming back home and finally have a tournament where I live in Arizona, which would be nice. And I'm playing with Kyle. So we're playing USA Nationals together in Arizona. So it'll be fun. And then really, APP canceled the tournament in December. And I guess really the only one left is PPA Daytona in December, I think 18th. But really, that's the end of the year, which is crazy to think about. Like, it went very fast. So
Yeah, very. Did you ever think that you'd be doing this, earning money and traveling?
it's crazy. I there was a couple times that it's very hard and just very good support from my family and the people around me where um they've pushed me and they see the end goal and they see what I can do in the sport and it's been great. Because there's definitely times I mean anything you do there's going to be doubt and stuff, but just I've definitely surrounded myself with the right people right now and it's definitely paid off. So
Very cool. Is there anything that I haven't asked you but you want to share?
mm, I don't think so. Are you coming to any tournaments anytime soon?
Not anytime soon, but
Anytime soon?
love to check it out for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for tuning in to the Alpha Pickleball Podcast with Tats. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, rate, and connect with us on social media. Stay alpha on the pickleball court. Until our next session.